So really the better way to think about this is that different partner types can kind of live inside the same program, but they should really be forced in the same economic workflow.
You're listening to the Affiliate Marketing Podcast, powered by Advertise, ultimate destination for affiliate program news, insights, growth opportunities, partnerships, and affiliate program strategy. If you've been following this show, you'll know we've been deep in conversation about what happens when affiliate programs start colliding with the creator economy. We explored it with the team at Levanta in a recent episode, and if you missed that, you can go back on site and find it to give it a listen, because today's conversation picks up exactly where that thread left off. My guest today has been in the trenches of performance marketing for over 2 decades, scaling programs, building partnerships, and now sitting in the Chief Revenue Officer seat at Nomics Group, overseeing a portfolio of platforms that include Shopnomics, Creatornomics, Fannomics, Appnomics, and Pronomics. Before this, he spent 14 years as SVP at Ad.net, helping drive that business into an 8-figure revenue across his career. He's been responsible for growing programs to over 150 million in annual revenue. The conversation we're about to have is one I think every affiliate manager and every brand running an affiliate program needs to hear, because it's about what actually happens when you stop treating creators and traditional affiliates as separate budget lines and start measuring both against the same verified transaction outcomes. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Affiliate Marketing Podcast with me, your host, Leanne Johnston. I met this gentleman finally in person in Vegas earlier this year, and now here he is on our mic. It is Todd Ulysse. He's the Chief Revenue Officer of Nomics Group, which is doing some amazing things, and we're going to get all into that in a minute. But Todd, welcome onto the show. It is a pleasure to have you here. It's a long time coming, and I'm super excited to get started, so welcome.
Thank you so much, Leanne. Really excited to be here. It definitely is a long time coming, and happy to have a conversation today.
So I think to get us started, probably it would be best for me to ask you to introduce yourself and say hello to my audience, because you are, I'm going to say, an OG. I mean, you've been in the industry for decades, and not to make you sound old, but you've got a very long, illustrious career in affiliate marketing. So maybe give us a little bit of that background first, and then we're going to pick your brains about the convergence of affiliate and creator.
So I've been in digital for 26 years. After undergraduate university, I packed up my car, no job, no money, moved to Seattle, Washington. Went from Tucson, Arizona to Seattle, Washington. So probably the polar opposites in weather. Worked at Amazon for a little bit, worked for a digital startup. That was the hot new internet company in Seattle one week, and then venture capitalists pulled out a week later. So typical startup, the internet was hot. I came back to Los Angeles, came into a company called Traffic Marketplace. We were an ad network before the ad network name came to the foray. So we took the pop under ad unit to the marketplace and built a big banner display distribution, and I ran the publishing team and found a pain point that publishers were hurting for revenue, and found incremental revenue solutions for publishers. We had tremendous growth, ended up selling the company to Vivendi Universal, operated that for a number of years. And then Vivendi was looking to divest the asset. And we were in conversations with a company called Overture at the time to take my display distribution, which was the second biggest ad network in the world, and put search results into that back in 2002, 2003. Yahoo came in, ended up buying Overture, became Yahoo Search. The deal fell off the table. The company divested. Then I had a friend of mine about a year later, was a comedy producer. So he reached out to me because I knew digital marketing, affiliate marketing, and said, hey, do my digital marketing for me. He ended up becoming one of the biggest comedy producers in the world. So before I knew it, I did marketing for a guy named Dane Cook, which was the biggest selling comedy release, and since Jimmy Carter was president in the States, and did things like social promotions, which was MySpace at the time, worked with bloggers on content, which was basically influencers of the time back in 2004, found a second pain point, which was solve a simple problem. Comedy marketing was underserved, and then built a business around that. Developed a portfolio of comedy websites, ended up selling that entity back in 2011. Flash forward, I got started with a company called Ad.net, built the incremental search ecosystem because search was monopolistic with Google in 2011. And who did it hurt? It hurt brains. It was another pain point. Ended up selling a portion of that business to a private equity firm back in 2021. So my history of my career is find a problem, solve solve the problem, scale the business, and sell it. It's been 26 years with 3 entities done that. And one of the things, I came aboard Nomics Group back in January as Chief Revenue Officer. I'm seeing what they're doing, liking, obviously, the business, it's where it's growing, and talking about finding a problem. The problem that Nomics Group is solving is fragmentation. The media ecosystem is even more fragmented than ever. And how we do that is through our Commerce Everywhere solutions. And especially leaning into the conversation today, what we're doing with creators and taking the affiliate marketing to creator piece. So history of my career is find something that's broken, solve it, scale the business, and then sell the business. So that's my 26-year career, and my 4th company in a nutshell.
Yeah, but also a massive history lesson for anybody listening, because a lot of those companies, I remember when I was coming up the ranks, they were like the Google, basically, and you got there early at the start of the doors opening, and you saw that transition of how those companies built and then exited and sold and solved problems. It's your career, but it's also the history of how this industry has evolved. And that's why I love having people like you on the podcast, because all of this knowledge is not written down in any history books. If you're new to the industry, you really are lucky to be listening to this podcast today, because Todd's got a bird's eye view of what's happened over the last 20 odd years in the industry and why it is the way that it is today. So super thrilled to have you here, and thank you very much for being here and sharing your time with us, because it's invaluable. It's not written down anyway. But let's talk about where we are now, because like you said, your history and career has been spotting a problem, seeing that there's fragmentation. Where does it break down right now? Like, what's the convergence of the affiliate and creator sector? Because there's actually news that came out a couple of weeks, I think it was last week, that Target has actually stopped their creator program as part of their affiliate program. And they're looking at working with nano influencers now instead, because they've seen consumers resonate more with content creators that aren't ambassadors as such. So like, where do you see things breaking down right now? And what is it that Nomics Group is trying to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. So every brand wants to reach consumers in the most efficient manner possible. And every publisher wants to maximize their revenue and eyeballs. The mousetraps may change year over year, but the performance economics are always similar. So traditionally it breaks down when a brand tries to force creators and affiliates into really the same operating logic without kind of understanding that each of the pieces play a different role in the journey. What I mean by that is traditional affiliate publishers are optimized around conversion capture, harvesting demand, lower funnel. Versus creators often get into higher funnel engagements. So the challenge that we face, and somewhat dichotomy, they're really briefed in the same way and judged on the same timeline. So that's traditionally where the friction starts, because ultimately creators and affiliate marketers, different pieces of the ecosystem. So really the better way to think about this is that different partner types can kind of live inside the same program, but they should really be forced in the same economic workflow. So what I mean by that is people always want unified measurement framework, but they don't want to look at partner management in a unified way. So you can't have it really both ways in terms of having a unified framework and a unified management. Really, what we got to rethink is the structure and how it has to reflect how consumers actually move in the real world across creators, AI surfaces, search environments, other distributed discovery points, not one clean linear path.
It's a big problem right now, because the fragmentation across channel, across partner type, and now even across like how people enter the internet, because nobody goes to Google first anymore. That brand awareness journey or consideration awareness journey funnel, it no longer exists with the advent of GE. And I know that we had Colin on the podcast a couple of months back, and we were talking about specifically that, and that was 6 months ago already, and now it's even more prevalent. How do we solve the budget line problem? Because as a performance marketer, you're paying on performance, but you could pay on performance across multiple different channels and traffic sources. So how do you create a sit in influencer budgets, and how do affiliates performance budgets, and how do we reconcile all of this now?
No, absolutely. And as you're right, even 6 months ago, the pace has exceeded significantly. The consumer journey is fragmented. So, what really has to change is it's a structural issue. It's ownership. Where does the money flow? If the creators report into one budget owner and affiliates into another, both teams are measured against different success metrics, right? So you're never really comparing them on the same base. As we say, apples to apples. It's the age-old argument in internet marketing, optimizing to channels and attribution. I like to call it, we stole my cookies, for lack of a better term, where people are fighting over attribution. So really the shift has to move into an outcome framework. Every creator doesn't need to pay exactly like a lower funnel affiliate. The business needs really one source of truth of what value looks like. On both sides really need to be reconciled against verified transaction outcome, contribution quality, incrementality, and conversion efficiency, then really the conversation changes when you look at it a holistic marketing program versus channel managers fighting against each. And then you can really decide what makes sense. Is it fixed fees? Is it CPA? Is it a hybrid model? But until ultimately the measurement model is unified, the problem really never gets solved. So you need to have a unified measurement structure. I'm anxious to see, as you said, what Target does, how that plays out. Brands often put different strategies together and they'll see the efficacy. And then as an industry, for marketers, for platforms, we can ultimately pivot and change and look at things holistically. But I always applaud brands for testing things out and trying new things in the best interest of their holistic brand versus looking at things channel by channel.
So do you think that technology is going to catch up now? Because most affiliate networks run kind of last click or server to server. They all commission and offer attribution in the same way. Do you think that there's a need now in the industry for the technology suppliers to catch up with how consumers are changing their purchasing behavior online and to start to allow affiliates and creators and all of these different partners that come into the affiliate mix to have the freedom to be run differently, but in the same program still? Because we can't do it right now. It's not possible. It is, but it's not measured equally on each side, as you said.
So I've been told many times in my career I think differently than most people, so you will start to see that the more we talk. I've said this for years. It's never technology problems, it's always people problems. Technology can solve whatever decision we decide to make as an industry, but I think the larger issue is that think about the compensation piece of many people at different companies. Okay, the affiliate team's compensated one way, the creator team's compensated a different way. And then when you create a compensation structure that say, oh, my channel might not produce bottom line results as much as another channel, people tend to do the infighting within organizations. Once we agree and align, and this really needs to come from the C-level downwards of these organizations, not from the bottom up. So it's really a people issue, less of a technology issue. And we need to align on a unified measurement system and say, okay, we know that top of the funnel creator engagement might lead to actions at the bottom of the funnel, be it on a review website, be it on a coupon website, 2 or 3 months down the line when an offer comes available. So I think it's, like I said, I do think differently than most, and you'll start to see that. So I think it's more of a people problem than a technology problem. The people need to align on unified measurement on what that looks like in order to have transformational change and value each piece of the pie. I mean, you think about it, you go to a soccer stadium, you go to a baseball stadium, you see a thing in the outfield, you see a thing behind the goal. Are you going to buy? But does it lead me to an impression of what I thought about? And then maybe when I'm ready to make a purchase decision, I will think of, oh, this beer that I looked at, this other product that I looked at. So I think it's just understanding where it happens in the mind of the consumer. It's very hard to codify because you have channel managers fighting against each other in terms of what they're looking at. And like I said, it goes back to what I call it, who stole my cookies?
Yeah, I deal with clients like that all the time. With, it's like, oh, well, we can't do this because it doesn't impact our budget. But then we're losing sight of how does it benefit the business as a whole. It doesn't matter whose budget it is. Are you actually getting the customer? It doesn't matter whether they come in PPC or affiliate or whatever, but are you actually getting the customer? And I think you said something really valuable. It needs to come from the CEO level. However, I still encounter a lot of brands with CEOs that don't understand what performance marketing is and how it should be working for their business. So there's an education piece that needs to happen, which is exactly why we've got this podcast. But I've never had anybody that said it so clearly before. So thank you for doing that. So there's this trust crisis and transparency tightrope that we are constantly navigating. But how do you guys help both sides to navigate this? Let's call it a visibility issue because it's kind of siloed, right? So how do you guys actually approach that when you're working with kind of big clients that are spending a lot of money with you?
So I want to step back and say transparency doesn't equal brand safety. And what I mean by that is brands want brand safety. They're less concerned about transparency. Take, for example, you can have great transparency, but things might not necessarily be brand safe because of content reviews, both real or generated. But that's always one of the challenges in the internet right now. It's always been a challenge, will always continue to be a challenge. So brands should be asking harder questions. But the problem is there's always been a bit of leakage and too much low quality inventory arbitrage. Look, many actors made up the whole ecosystem untrustworthy. When email marketers realized they can make, in 2003, realized they can make a lot more money sending 50 emails a day than one. Guess what happened? 50 emails. This industry has not been the best of self-regulation, but ultimately we've gotten better, obviously, with things like CAN-SPAN coming in and then disclosure, stuff like that. And that's critically essential. But the answer is that ultimately most publishers can't expose everything. But the best way to kind of handle transparency is ask what the brands look at. How do you look at it? What criteria do you have? And then any platform, any affiliate should make their systems the same way, is ultimately to take what the brands want, build their system that way. Like the reality is you can't confuse brand transparency with brand safety or surveillance. So ultimately brand safety is the most important thing. And the biggest brands should have indications. And ultimately on the conversion standpoint, they need to validate quality, compliance. Publishers need to have enough protection that, that services the brands that they have. So that's really the most important thing. Really the middle ground is have a conversation. Most people don't want to have a conversation. Sit down and how are you determining brand safety? What are you looking at? What are the key criteria? Are you looking at multiple clicks? Are you looking at transactions? What are you looking at? And then ultimately create this into a repeatable measurement and ultimately having full disclosure on what you're doing and how you're doing it. I want to say transparency. It's more of the term of transparency is operational transparency. What are you doing? Tell me how you're doing it, and have an open conversation about operational transparency. And that's frankly really more important. So you can kind of bridge that brand safety gap and that transparency gap while still protecting publishers' intellectual property and kind of secret sauce.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, so I want to dig into some of the numbers because you guys see a lot of data. So ShopNum processes around 3 billion monthly queries. That's like a lot of data. What's shifting in consumer intent signals right now, and what does that tell you about where the industry is actually headed? Because a lot of affiliate managers are trying to navigate, or brand managers in especially e-commerce, they're trying to navigate, where do I segment my portfolio now? Because do I spend my money in AEO, GEO? Do I now still stick with my coupon sites? Where are you seeing consumer intent change across all of this data?
It's just getting expressed a lot earlier in more places with more context. So what I mean by that is traditional search, people would go to a search results or a search page and they would do it. Now it's been completely upended by AI. A lot of commercial intent is in less obvious places. So the same intent is showing up in conversation AI. How often do you talk to your AI agent on a daily basis? Do you see results included in there? Absolutely. And what I'm very excited about is obviously the creator-led economy. Creators are the new publishers. I've been saying that for a long time. But now with the advent of like live shopping within Meta, it's becoming more of your trusted source. I wrote an article, this is, going on, I'm dating myself, probably 11, 12 years ago, that I wanted to rename search marketing to intent-driven marketing. And when you kind of look at what is intent, it's really the expressed belief and feeling and doing something. If you're looking at a creators are the leading force of establishing intent because you trust those creators. So you're creating a trusted, intent-driven piece. So in addition to pre-search environments as well, you're integrated within browsers and ultimately distributed touch points. The nature of going to a SERP is gone. Intent is extrapolated early on, and it's ultimately the companies that can kind of capture intent. The signal's still there, but you got to be able to act on it before the user does a physical search result page or frankly gets to a checkout page and that bottom of the funnel gets credit. So the other thing that's really changing is specificity. AI and conversational commerce really don't work like old keyword search. And I think it's actually better, and it allows people to get what they want sooner. The signal is ultimately a lot richer, and people are asking for product recommendations with constraints, context, and urgency built in. I want to find this to be right now, and you're getting what you need. And really, that is the most important piece and why, some of the ultimately intent-driven marketing was built to get you the answers you want. And the future channel is less about fighting over last click and more about understanding how to capture intent among a distributed journey. And that's really what Nomics is leading into, what we're looking at in terms of performance economics holistically, and then the distributed journey. And that's really what is commerce everywhere, what we put together at Nomics, be able to understand and be able to help brands reach consumers against that consumer journey. That's really a distributed journey.
Just quickly, just because some people wouldn't have heard of the Nomics Group, just give us the full composition of what the Nomics Group is, because I know some people will know ShopNomics, but they won't know all the other bits of the Nomics Group.
So Nomics Group is a holding company. So Nomics Group started out as ShopNomics about 3 years ago, very focused on the affiliate commerce space. And the company's had tremendous growth, both organically and through acquisitions. And the Nomics Group's really a holding company and a holding company of assets, which includes, Shopnomics, which works with 400,000 creators, and Fanomics, which is our AI-driven content production studio, which allows us to build and deploy creatives in real time and utilizing creative velocity as a core competency to help brands scale at a fraction of the cost as production companies can do. So Nomics is a holding company, and it really solves multiple problems. Fragmentation through commerce everywhere, through the entire consumer journey of creative, performance economics, and distribution infrastructure at scale for brands. Most companies can only handle one of those three pieces. Nomics has the end-to-end solution through its portfolio of products and services and companies.
It sounds complex, but it's also really clever because it is actually helping brands to touch their consumer in multiple different ways and at scale. And that's really what we need right now.
An outcomes-based economy. Colin stated this on the last podcast. With the increase of inventory, especially with AI, we're shifting more toward an outcome-based economy. And how we determine that outcome we were talking about earlier is, is the creator piece more of mid-funnel? How do you engage that once the past the purchase? And aligning on a unified measurement piece to show what those outcomes are, ultimately having a seat at the table in the conversation is tantamount and critically important.
But we are also getting to a point in the industry where the data leads us, and the data that we have is actually quite strong. Whereas before it was not mixed, but it wasn't clean. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't 100% clean. Whereas now we've got to a point where we can actually measure everything right back to the first impression, the first click that ever happens on a customer's life cycle journey. So I'm quite excited about that, but I'm also excited because it allows us to change the commercial aspects. And I know you've argued CPC giving way to CPA is the inevitable next shift. So talk us through that thought process and how you at Shopnomics also shoulder the performance risk with clients that you work with.
It's just math. I'm in the space 26 years. I look at the really things, and if you look at the internet marketing, it's really financial systems. You can track everything, and it's CPM, CPC, or CPA. Granted, within CPA, there's probably 50,000 variations. CPS, fixed fees with a baseline. There's with the economic models. Every publisher wants to focus on, it's all risk mitigation, right? Every publisher wants to focus on risk mitigation. Every advertiser wants to focus on performance economics. It's shifting that way. It's not completely moving, but it's ultimately moving that way. Look, a lot of teams still like CPCs because it's familiarity. It's Google. I'm used to this. And it's the easiest to slide into a media structure. Think about how media teams are structured. You have a search and social team. You have an affiliate team. You have a video and a display team. And those are really all based on pricing metrics. But really the more precise label, an affiliate's cost per sale. It's really what action do you want to have take place and how do you want to pay out that action? So I'd still answer the question in terms of CPA, because that's really where we see the broader market shift. If you build it on a CPC with a CPA backstop and guarantee, doesn't really matter. It's just math. And it puts the onus on the platforms to be able to have a best of breed infrastructure, and some of the stuff we're doing with Pronomics, to ultimately optimize and build the infrastructure to perform. But really the point is that are moving towards outcome-based pricing models and verifies transactions. I think in the internet, we have all these acronyms to keep people out. What are you talking about? It's an acronym for this, an acronym for that. But even taking a step back, it makes us sound intelligent. So shifting towards outcome-based pricing. So looking at whether it's a CPA, CPS, reg share, ultimately, there has to be some form of outcome. And I'm very optimistic that even CPMs are moving more towards outcome-based pricing, which is really the mantra of affiliate-based marketing anyway. You want to achieve this goal based on this. And the key thing is not to force, I've had to learn this in 26 years, not to force everything overnight. The approach is have the conversations, get a seat at the table, create unified measurements. Really the right approach is to crawl, walk, run. Start with what you're measuring and then testing, validate quality, prove the economics, and then ultimately expand. Shopnomics predominantly performs on a CPA. Around 90 to 95% of the business is CPA driven. And the reason that model works is that performance risk is really understood up front and the onboarding is data driven. The channel doesn't need to be about slogan about CFE everywhere. It's about operating with the confidence with a path to get there and allow brands the ability to pay for results, pay for performance-based results.
So that's actually quite a really good blueprint, because if you want a well-run unified affiliate program, which is bringing content creators, traditional publishers, all of that together, just follow those 4 steps. It's like the best place to start. And from there, you'll get the answers that you need in order to actually improve what you've already got.
And the challenge traditionally is there's really different payouts against these channels. It comes down to, an economic-based model. We see the affiliate payouts getting stronger because the value of affiliate quality is actually increased. I want to ultimately rename affiliate marketing to performance. It's really performance-based media, for lack of a better term. I think the notion of saying affiliate, someone has connotations, whether positive or negative. I'll let your audience debate that. But really renaming affiliate marketing to what it truly is. It's performance-based marketing. And then showing that and then up-leveling affiliate marketing to expand out. The lines are never super, super clear. There is overlap with affiliate, with creators, with influencers, with affiliate. Once the payouts ultimately get level set, look, if it's a coupon site, okay, if you're discounting 20%, okay, just shave 20% of the payout goal. There's value in every piece of media. It's just quantifying what that value is and being able to align. Like I said, it's really not technology problem. It's really people, kind of making sure that those alignment on all key stakeholders from a C level are in. These are the value against the channel. Then it allows brands to ultimately build market share and pay what those users are valued at, whether you look at LTV of a consumer or lower CAC, as we include more acronyms in the podcast. So it's truly alignment. And it takes a visionary CEO, CMO at a brand to say, let's look at the entire media mix and say, let's take it all and let's build market share for our brand. And here's how we're going to do it. As I always instruct teams, say, okay, perform 20% better. So you have this 20% discretionary income to invest in new channels because you don't know what you don't know. And testing and scaling, because test everything and see what ultimately performs and scales the business.
I think we're sometimes too scared to test as well. We get into like a rut and it's, we've always done it like this. And if I have to test something, it's going to be a little bit of extra work. And it's true what you said is a people problem. Like the change starts with us. It doesn't start with telling somebody else about it. It starts with you. So incrementally test something, try something a little bit different, and only do one thing a month. It doesn't have to be everything all at once because that's just overwhelming and you wouldn't get the right data results. Okay, we've got to the fun rapid fire round, which is where I throw 5 questions at you and you're going to answer them. The first one is creator or traditional affiliate publisher. Pick one for the next 5 years.
Oh, creators significantly, but only if it gets measured like performance and not protected like a vanity channel. There is a significant increase in creators, and that's where the dollars are shifting. The amount of money spent on creators is not, the media mix and the marketing dollar front has not caught up to the amount of money being pumped in on the creator standpoint. So creators for sure.
Okay. The metric that performance marketers are most wrong about right now.
Clicks without context. Stepping back on that, intent is the value signal, and how you extrapolate intent earlier on in the funnel is the most important thing.
Biggest mistake brands make when they first try to integrate creators into an affiliate program. And I'll see if I agree or also add another one maybe.
So they try to literally copy the affiliate goals without deciding how creators actually influence the demand. So look at creator as a unique channel.
Yeah, and they try and treat creators exactly the same as how they would treat an affiliate when they are completely different personas. CPA or revenue share, pipe dream or a rise of the inevitable?
The rise of the inevitable. It's completely the rise of the inevitable.
Okay. And lastly, one piece of advice you'd give your 25-year-old self starting out in performance marketing today.
Don't confuse volume with value. Ultimately learn the economics behind things and why and underneath the channel early on within any investment that is made.
Yeah. So if somebody walks up to you at a conference, what's the best pickup line that you've ever heard?
Want to buy some data?
You would have to be in the industry for 26 years to pull that line.
And then my response usually, how clean is your data?
Where does it come from? All right, Todd, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast this week. Thank you so much for sharing your insights on what's happening in the performance marketing economy and the convergence of creator and affiliate working together. And hopefully we get together and work to help solve the people problem and educate everybody that's around us to think about affiliates the way that you do, because I think the world would be a better place if everybody did it.
Oh, thank you, Leah. I really appreciate the time and always happy to support and be involved as much in the community.
Until next week, everybody, we will say goodbye and thank you very much. This is the Affiliate Marketing Podcast. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Wow, what a great episode. I think the through line today is really clear. The brands that win in the next 3 years are going to be the ones that stop treating creators and affiliates as separate problems and start building unified measurement frameworks that reflect how consumers actually behave. Thank you for being so generous with the real numbers and sharing your lessons with us, Todd. It makes a huge difference for our audience, and it's where we all get to come together and learn from a cross-section of insights into our industry. For everyone listening, I think have a look at Shop and Creatornomics platforms in the show notes, along with the other episodes that we've done on this topic over the last season. We reference all of these at the top of the show notes. In today's conversation sparks something for you. Share it with a colleague who's been running a program and trying to figure this out for themselves. yourselves, because this year, active measurement is what starts really mattering. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, leave us a review, and come and find us over at affiversemedia.com, where we have resources and everything you need to keep building smarter affiliate programs. I'm Leanne Johnston, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Affiliate Marketing Podcast.
If you need services to launch, fix, or scale your affiliate program, head over to converge.io. That's Konverj.io. Converge's award-winning affiliate marketing agency. Support brands launch, scale, and grow their affiliate program from technical startup to partner recruitment or competitive program audits. We've got you covered. Book a free 15-minute strategy at converge.io. That's Konverj.io.